Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us today to learn a little bit more about creative fundraising. My name is Beth Foss, and I'm the Director of Operations at the Choroideremia Research Foundation. And today we have a great friends actually that are joining us today to share a little bit about what they've done. Maybe it's taking a hobby, maybe it's something that they do annually, and they turned it into a fundraiser. Some made quite a bit of money and others made just a little bit, but it really doesn't matter how much. It's more about giving you the power and the ability to know that you are participating with funding research to find a treatment or a cure. So we're super glad that you're here, and I'm going to start with the Brady Bunch photo. I know I've said that with this group already a couple times, but I find this so much fun. I'm going to go in the order that we're going to go through. But let me introduce them first to you. We have Sue Kazmierczak, and she lives in Hammond, Wisconsin. Brian Cowner in Brookfield, Illinois.
Champaign.
Oh, I'm sorry, Champaign. Thanks for correcting me. Michelle Holbrook, you're in Park City, Utah, on the bottom. And then we have Oralee Harp, who lives in Brooklyn, New York. Eric Hartman is in New Orleans, Louisiana. And then Corey is joining us from Springfield, Massachusetts. And I'm in Southern Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to switch over and share some screens and slides. And as I do so, Sue is going to start and share a little bit about her fundraiser. Just give me a second.
Number of Cure CHM webinars has started. Screen share alert.
Well, thank you, Beth, and thank you for having me today. For the past several years, my family and I have been doing a tag sale / bake sale to help raise funds for the CRF. We usually have it the second week in August. I try to coordinate the timing around Hammond Days, which is our local community-wide event that's held in town every year. It draws people in from neighboring towns, and that helps us to get a better turnout. So we usually try to have it during that time if we can. The sale runs from Thursday through Saturday. I start baking towards the end of July, and we take the Wednesday before to get everything set up. My husband helps bring everything up from downstairs. We get the tables set up in the garage and put garage sale signs out on every corner of our development. And my son and daughter-in-law also come out to help. The items for sale are usually donated by my family, but every year I am amazed at what I'm able to come up with on my own too. I go through my closet, and what I haven't worn in a year gets put aside to go towards the sale. And throughout the year, we'll keep an eye out for things that we no longer use. And I usually end up with quite a few things, so it works out pretty well. I have a blue and white banner, as you can see from the picture, with the CRF logo and contact information. So I put that on the table front and center, so that people walking in will know that it's a fundraiser. I also have a poster board with information about choroideremia. What is it? Who gets it? How is it inherited? Just some basic general information. And it actually gets quite a bit of attention. People will stop to read it. They'll ask questions, and we end up having a conversation. So it helps to raise some awareness too. The biggest challenge, I think, for us is that we live outside of town, so we don't have a lot of traffic in our area. So I think we could do a better job with advertising, whether it's placing an ad in the local paper or maybe doing something on social media or a combination of both. I think it would help us out, and I think we'd benefit from doing that. So next year. So this is a very small scale fundraiser. Every year is a little different, but we raise on average between $500 and $700. So very, very small scale, but every little bit helps and does make a difference. So I'm just glad that we're able to do something. And it's a lot of fun. I get to spend that time with family. I have a couple friends that come out, and it's actually become a summer tradition for us. So it's a lot of fun, and we enjoy doing it. So thank you for having me.
That's great. Hey, do any of our panelists, I forgot to mention this, does anybody have any questions for Sue or any comments? Sometimes it might be.
Oh, yeah, Sue, just a quick question, because I've done, as you know, a tag sale as well for the CRF. And now, do you pre-price everything, or do you do just straight donations? Because you can do it either way.
I've learned through the years, Corey, I have a little cheat sheet on the checkout table, because what I would do before is I would put a little sign like on different racks and say, everything on this rack is, whatever amount, everything on this rack is this amount. And then people would come up and they'd ask me, well, how much is this? And I'd forget, or I have to walk over and look at my sign. So I have a little cheat sheet that I put on my table, on my checkout table. And, pants are this, tops are this, but everything else we do pretty much pre-price, or I'll put a sign on the table and say everything on this table is, such a price. So a little bit of both, I guess.
Okay. And you mentioned the putting an ad in the newspaper. I'm not sure about your local paper, but I know ours, I forgot how many, they allow a certain number of words for tag sales, and it costs nothing. So it's a nice little option that you could avail yourself of to kind of,
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
A little bit more.
And this is Eric, and as a quick follow-up, you mentioned you had your choroideremia sign that you put out on your table. Corey, correct me if I'm right wrong, but we've got a number of tablecloths that if someone's having a fundraiser, Corey can mail them the tablecloth that will help, make a nice display, and it certainly adds to the awareness for this CRF.
Now that we have 4 of them, that yes, we can rotate around. Yeah. We just got 2 more like a month ago. So
yeah,
awesome.
That would be great.
Yep,
that'd be great. Thank you.
Yep, just fire me off an email next year, and when you're getting in, a few weeks out, and I'll get one to you.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you. I'll do that. You're welcome.
That was super. A lot of us need to do that more, whoever clutters their house or their garage. All right,
I've said for years, I think it would be really neat if the CRF just coordinated a national tag sale day.
That would be fun.
And
there you go.
On the same day. I think that would be really neat.
We're going to scroll next to Brian Counter in Champaign, Illinois. Sorry.
Hello, thanks for having me. Yeah, my fundraiser was another very small in scope kind of thing. I wanted to do something to contribute, and given that I ironically lost my remaining focal vision in 2020, I'm not going to be driving across the country or running like Forrest Gump from coast to coast. So I thought, well, what can I do? I have way too many hobbies that keeps me way too busy. So one of my hobbies is board gaming and video gaming. Believe it or not, blind people can play video games on accessible sites. And so I thought, well, let me give this a try and let's see what happens. So my initial goal was a mere $500. And I decided, okay, I will game for 24 hours, inviting all of my friends that I know. And I threw this out on Facebook a few times, and then, personal, just talking to people in person. I board game with some cool people every week before COVID, and now we're starting to pick that back up again. But I'm also part of a small but neat international blind gaming community, and we have a server on Discord, which is a voice server that gamers use to talk while they're blowing each other up, but we don't do that. We just play more casual games. There's a few servers out there that are fully accessible with screen readers. Anything from hearts and spades to a modern board game that's put on the site, like called Citadels, and anything in between. And so I thought I could do that. And so, I start off with a small goal of $500. And by the time we finished, I made 90,000 pennies, AKA almost $900. So still small in scope, but exceeding was good because I was concerned I wasn't gonna get to 500. And all it really was me sitting down at my computer, the computer I'm at right now, logging on to my Discord server, inviting people, and then they would come and go as they wished. There weren't too many times actually where I was alone. And when I was alone, I was playing solo. It was fine. But it was really cool to have people throughout the entire 24 hours, allowing me, of course, needed bio breaks and a couple granola bars along the way. That's part of it. But it was a lot of fun. And then I even had my daughter and new son-in-law Vlad out in the Netherlands come on at 9 their time, 3 a.m. my time, kind of to pick it back up when there was only one person from maybe 11 till 3 a.m. who wanted to play the same game over and over, but we won't speak about this. And that was fine. So that was the only caveat of that was a challenge. But consider your gaming. It was great fun, and we had a lot of banter, and we played a lot of games. We weren't playing the entire 24 hours because we'd break off into side conversations during a game, but it was great fun. And so it was very easy. It was one of my hobbies, and all I did was really go out to my circles of influence. I mean that very in humility, where I know some people in the board game industry. I was part of a popular podcast for board gaming for a while. So I just reached out to those people, and it went better than I thought it would money-wise, but it was a lot of fun, very easy to do. And I had a great time doing it. So that's about it.
Was it pretty hard? I mean, was there anything setting it up on Facebook? Are there any obstacles that were frustrating when you were trying to set this up, or did somebody help you set it, like Corey or Kathy?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, there was one challenge because I couldn't set up the web page to set up the fundraiser. So I believe Corey did that for me. So thanks, Corey. So he did all the setup and then gave me the web page for the link. And then that's what I posted on Facebook. I just said, hey, everybody, I'm doing this fundraiser. We're going to play games. And everybody who knows me knows my Discord server and the accessible websites that we play at. And even the sighted people could play at the accessible websites. It just, instead of reading things to them like it does with a screener, it'll put text on the screen, and it's a little clunky for the sighted actually, but they can still play. And the banter and talk was good. But that was the only hurdle I had to jump, was have Corey set up the webpage for the fundraiser for me. And then I dispersed that on Facebook. And then if people, one-to-one wanted to talk to me, I would just email them the link, because I had that on like in a notepad file. I keep all of my silly stuff. So that was the only real challenge, but everything else was great. It was a lot of fun. I was tired as heck. And by the time the 9 a.m. rolled around, I was pretty on fumes, and people kind of came in at between 8 and 9. A lot of them came back in to see if I was dead or, still going, and they were pleased that I was fine.
Do you think you're going to do it again?
Probably. I wanted to wait to see how it went, but I didn't want to do a repetitive thing right away. But if you encourage me to do it, I'll do it again. Just fine. Like I said, it was a low bar, and we passed it, which I was pleased about. But yeah, I could do it again.
We have a lot of people, a lot of younger people too, in that whole gaming stratosphere. I see Oralie's like nodding. Yes. I bet there's something we can do on a bigger scale too. That would be pretty fun.
Well, yeah, and this is a sidebar, but I'm working on that accessibility thing for that social game for Jackbox games, and that's much more fun than like the sites I went to play games with people. They're more traditional things like hearts, spades, and like I said, there's one modern hobby board game on there. But that was fun. But if we got something like Jackbox, suite games, we could have some fun. And even the younger people who like to blow each other up with Fortnite and things like that, they'd probably enjoy that. And we could, I could turn it into something a little bit more inclusive with more wider interests, of people being able to play non-traditional board games.
That's great. Fabulous. Wonderful. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to turn it over next to Michelle. Michelle Holbrook is in Utah, and she has done an incredible fundraiser knocks the socks off all of us. And if you could just share what your experience has been.
Sure. We used to live in the Bay Area, where we were first associated kind of with the Foundation for Fighting Blindness organization. And they have a chapter there, and they would do seminars every year. My son, Damon, my older son in this picture, he would go with me every year. And he was probably 12 or 13, maybe 10 when we started going, probably 12 when he first leaned over to me in one of the seminars and said, Mom, we should do a bake sale. He just had this vision, this sweet little, he was so sweet. And I thought, okay, yeah, we should do that, and then put it off for probably 2 or 3 years. Finally, in 2019, we had our first bake sale. This was in California. This was, it was a lot. I had amazing neighbors and friends from our church congregation and I also volunteered. I worked at the middle school. And so I knew 240 moms at the middle school. So I was in a lucky situation. We also lived just down the street from, 7 houses down from the middle school. So a good location for people that were, it was just a good spot. So it took us a couple years to get it, a couple years for me to commit. And then once we did, it's been an amazing thing we've been able to do. We were blown away the first year by what we were able to raise from a bake sale. I mean, of course, we also did the online, people could donate online if they weren't able to come. So we have family and friends all over we've lived in Maryland, New Hampshire, California, and Utah. So we have good communities of friends that now live all over the world that we're so thankful for and that have donated, year after year for our family. Obviously, we didn't do anything in 2020. 2021, we were back and we were ready to do it again. And this is when Damon really, I wish Damon was here to be on this webinar with me, because I do the baking and he does basically everything else. Honestly, he promotes it. He posts, he sends emails to our community. He posts on Nextdoor. He passes out flyers. He was going door to door, putting flyers on doorsteps, whether or not that's legal, I don't know, but he was doing it and people were very kind. And so he did the same thing for these 2 years. We put signs up in the neighborhood. We're able to get a pavilion at a park in our neighborhood where we've done it the last 2 years in Park City. We don't put prices on the items. We think that it works out better that way for us. It's just all based on donations, and it's easier for someone to hand you a $20 bill than for me to say, oh, that's, $17 or whatever it is. It's easier to just not put a price. People are very generous. And again, here living in Utah, we've had a family that have been able to come and help and also bake more things. It's tricky to pick the right day and time. This last year, it was very cold, so there weren't as many people just coming to the park that day. I think we were lucky the year before. It was also a community. They put like dumpsters down in the parking lot for like a community drop off dumpster thing. And we happened to have our bake sale the same day. So people that were just coming to drop things off at the dumpsters were able to come over to the bake sale. The weather was better. We've been blessed to be able to, on top of the bake sale, donate to the organization. And we just feel like it's one of those things like, do you keep doing it every year? Do you do your fundraiser every year? Do you keep asking for money from the same people every year? And we all have that, like, you feel guilty, right? You feel like, oh, it's so awkward to ask for money, but there's still not a cure. And the way to get a cure is to raise money. So that's kind of my mentality when I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. We're asking for money again. And it is uncomfortable, but the situation is the situation is the same. So that's kind of where we're at. We just feel lucky to be able to do this. I start baking literally 2 months before, and I freeze things. So, and then the week of, I by the end of the bake sale, I literally can't stand, because I've been on my feet for literally days and days and days, been on my feet.
Wow.
So it's a lot. I do love baking, but it's a lot of work, but I know my sons are very grateful and they're appreciative. And I know all of you are, and it means so much. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. Any questions?
Well, not a question, but really a comment, Michelle, in that,
Yeah,
you know, you were talking about, you know, you feel uncomfortable going back year after year after year to your friends and your family and stuff.
right,
I get that too. But
right.
it's been my experience that your friends and your family are waiting for you to ask. And
We're very blessed. And I think any of us that do any fundraisers, I've said this before, the $5 or $10 donation means just as much as the $500 donation. It's like, you
yes,
just know that every dollar, you know, and we have signs and we promote that like 100% of this goes to Cure CHM. And we also, just as Sue said, I put up a poster board that kind of explains what the disease is, and we're able to talk about it. And people do kind of ask genuine questions, and they're interested and they care, and they want to know how our boys are doing, and they want to know about my dad and his experiences, and, you know, how it's so prominent in my family. And, you know, I have sisters who's, you know, my nephews also have CHM, and it's just so prominent that I feel like I want to do whatever I can. And maybe what they're doing is baking something, you know, maybe it's not the financial side, but they're baking things for me to sell, and they're doing what they can. And I just think it's important for and people are so good. There are so many good people in the world. And I feel like any type of fundraiser brings that out in people.
I agree.
It's just a good opportunity.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Giving someone the vehicle to give is really what you're doing. And
Right.
like I
Yes.
said, many times I've discovered that my friends and my family, you know, they're waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think at each of the bake sales, just from the donations up until that point and the money from the bake sale, it was around $10,000 each at each sale, around that. And then we were able to, you know, donate in addition to that. But you just see, you know, people care, and they love you. And it's just a good feeling to feel support from your community, whether it's, you know, Damon would have school, his soccer team helped him pass out flyers, you know, his soccer team was helping him do all sorts of things. And it's just wonderful. You know, you also see negative of people sometimes that don't believe him, you know, like a janitor at his school said, "You don't look blind to me," you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, like people, you know, thought it was a scam. And I was like, really? Like,
I've always
break this
laughed
kid's
at that.
heart, you know?
I've always laughed at that comment. You don't look blind. It's like,
Right.
what does
I know, my
blind
dad
look
too.
like?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does it look like? You
But-
look just fine, Corey.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
when it comes to, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, amounts that you're raising, small, large, whatever.
Right.
And I was talking to somebody once that they'd done a birthday fundraiser, and they'd raised like, I think $75 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were really disappointed. And I just said, listen, the way I've always viewed this, the road to our cure is one that it's going to take us millions and millions and millions of steps to get to that
Right.
cure.
Right.
And each step costs us $1.
Yeah.
And so if you raise $75, well, you got us 75 steps closer to our goal.
Exactly. And we'll have people come to the bake sale, you know, and take 2 things and give us $100. And then we'll have someone come and
Yeah.
take 10 things and give us $20. And for a teenager, that's like frustrating, right? So the uncle that comes in, he's like, he took so much stuff. And I'm like, it's all the same. It all evens out. You know, it's just every dollar, you know, every dollar counts is what I just try to remind him. So
Exactly.
And the bigger part of that too, in addition to what Corey said, and you said, Michelle, too, is you're teaching your son, we're teaching our family, empowering him to know that, you know what, we do have some
Right.
control. We
right.
are
And
the
and he
ones that
talks
are-
about it, you know, he will talk about it, and he knows it's not comfortable. I don't know if my younger son would, you know, he's more quiet about the situation and about knowing that he has this disease, where Damon is going to go to school to be a genetic engineer and cure blindness, you know, like he knows what he wants to go do. And so it's a tricky thing to balance. Right. But
Yeah.
we're just doing our best, I think.
We sure appreciate everything that you and your family have done from the CRF.
you.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Yes.
Anything else from Michelle, guys? Otherwise, we're going to move on to orally. Okay, let's go ahead and do that orally.
Well, I'm going to make a transition because I'm very, very moved right now with all the stories we have. And the one thing I would say is I think that fundraising is really like a social thing. It's a hard thing to do, and it's a social thing. And so today I'm going to talk about our experience with CRF specifically, like how we raised our first campaign. And then I'll also give some perspective from my experience as I'm a founder of a nonprofit, so raising money and what all the lesson that I've learned and personally through that. So really, so we did two online campaigns. So I was joking before we were recording, saying like I'm the type of person who is like, I don't like baking and I like cooking, but I think there is a part of also I come from another country when the fundraising culture is not really there. And I find online fundraising very practical and also a way to reach out to family overseas and all the community we've met globally. So the first time we fundraised was for Mike's birthday. And we just had learned a few months before that our son was diagnosed with CHM. And we sort of did it at the last minute, thinking like, we know this tool works. Let's see what's going, like what it's going to be. And it was also in a weird way our coming out story, because we had private conversation with people starting to talk about it, and we were starting to be fed up of just having this hard, long, emotional conversation, and find a way, in a way, with the fundraising thing to just state it out loud. This is what's going on, and being very, blunt about our vulnerability, the fact that we were, going through pain and also hope, and also so many conflicting emotions. And we had a goal, and it was incredible to see that how fast people responded. I think first of all, because it was the first time we were saying something, and we raised quite a lot of money, and more than we thought. And then the second time it was for the New York Marathon. And what you said, Michelle, about how hard it is to feel like you have to ask again for money, and do you have to to ask specifically your friends, like how do you do that, and how hard that is, and at the same time I realized that it's like everything. It's, so as I said, it's a social experience and it takes a village. But that, yes, Corey, and everything you said, like people were kind of waiting for it, because first we realized through the process how many friends we had with rare disease, so-called rare disease. And so we were much more bigger, like a bigger number affected by rare disease. Second, how people are happy to give and to help. And for us, it was overwhelming to receive so much love. And I think that's kind of what is hard. I'm going now to talk about fundraising and the things I've learned along the years is what is hard, I think, is the mindset of going away from thinking that asking for money is begging, when it's asking for help. And I do think that in our culture, it's hard to ask for help. But I decided, especially with, I'm saying that it's a new mindset for me, that especially for my son who has CHM, I decided to change my mindset of fear of asking for help as a way to teach and to say, wow, if we learn now how to ask for help for you, but you for advocating for yourself now, it's going to be less humiliating than waiting to the last minute or whatever. Like, how can we do that, a practice of asking for help as an ordinary thing? And if people want to say no, they say no. If they don't want to give, like to not take it as a rejection of us, but more as it's going to be our story, and that's the way we are going to grow in life. And I think that that's why it's important to prep yourself with what are your fears before, like, going for fundraising, and be very honest with you, and just, do you need friends, do you need allies with you that are going to support you, maybe even to give the first money, so that you don't feel like waiting and nobody gives, but maybe asking a few friends, like, hey, if you agree to give, like, can you give on that day, and plan like this, have friends helping you share the event, talk about it, but also taking pleasure in the conversation that you're building with people, because what I found amazing was, again, the love we had, and sometimes from people very close to us, and sometimes from people like, I think what made me cry the most is sometimes it was from strangers, and they would send us just something about, wow, reading your post gives me hope about humanity, and we're like, wow, me too. Reading your response gives me hope. So I'm going to stop rambling, but I think it's to me, that's the main thing, is like, now technology can help us do something, like it can be easy to fundraise, and or having an event like baking, like is amazing, because it's a social party and a moment to be able to talk to everyone. But it's really how to overcome to have the courage to just be vulnerable with others and to ask for help. And I think that's the culture, the mindset, where we can all help each other and support each other in building.
That's super duper. That's good. How about questions? Anyone has thoughts on that?
Yes, this is Eric. I just wanted to reiterate what you said. I think the more you ask people, the more you're going to find out they, as has been said, have been waiting for you, and you will be surprised at how far flung those kindnesses are. They far outweigh those people that just say, no, I don't want it. But when you talk about your son, all of us who have CHM need to learn to ask for assistance when we need it. And I think showing him early on, it's good to ask. It just makes his life that much easier, and he's more comfortable with it as he gets older.
Yeah, and believe me, sorry.
No, I was going to ask you, Orly, and the others too that are on here. I just was taking some notes as you were talking about. I decided not to be afraid anymore. And, how did you, and everybody does it differently, but how did you decide to step out of that fear and that and be transparent? It's like, when you do this, you're letting the whole world, on social media, know I'm not all right. Our family's dealing with this, and it opens it up. How, because I know that's where a lot of us, my family included, sometimes you just get stuck and you're just like, am I ready to be that vulnerable? Am I ready to let everybody know? Was there any of the panelists here today that you decided, and maybe that's a different topic, but a little bit in fundraising, how did you make that decision?
So I'm going to first, it's part of something I've been working really hard on, for, like, everything to me is about relationship, and I think that's what is hard or easy is how can you first reframe that being in pain doesn't mean that you're weak, that being vulnerable is not a problem, it's a gift that you're giving, and that you have and that talking about it with other people means that you're not alone. You don't have to come up with all the solution, because especially where there is no solution. And the one thing I'm going to say is, what I'm learning more and more is, joining CRF, the joy of building with others, something that is beyond, above us, like bigger than us, is what to me is very therapeutic. Because there might not be any cure for my son, or my daughter, or maybe even the next generation. And at the same time, every day when we do something, I think what Corey was saying, we're making a step together, and that's profound humanity. That's what gives hope, to me, like, and how it helps to just transform a field, and just to even be able to say, to say, I'm afraid, I have no idea how to fundraise, and to ask somebody who has experienced fundraising to help you, and just to say, okay, let's do a script, let's role play, like what is it you need? Because there are some very practical steps where you can receive help.
Good.
That's
That's
for
good.
me.
Yeah, for me, it was not a problem at all. But there's a caveat to that. Growing up, I knew what I had after I was like 25, 26. And then every once in a while, when I noticed a decline in my vision, I'd get a little sad. And then when those missteps in my vision or declines in vision would happen and I just couldn't see something anymore, yeah, I had days of tears, but I was open about it. That's who I am. I'm not into the whole toxic machismo, you have to be strong. That is complete garbage. I've never been that way. So that transition to acceptance and just being who I am was actually quite easy. And so by the time I get to my fundraiser and I lost my focal vision in 2020, it was no big deal. I was like, hey, there's this thing I'm doing. I'm trying to raise some money and this could help some research. And most of the people I hang out with know exactly what's going on. And some people have even said they admire the way I have a positive attitude towards life, even if I are blind. And so it was quite the easy transition. And so asking was not a big deal at all. There was no pride, and everyone was giving. It was very cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with Brian. I mean, my friends that I grew up with, having been diagnosed at a young age and being in a large family, and it was never hidden away in my family. So it was never one of those things that you even considered not talking about it. It was always talked about. It was always open. And so transitioning that into fundraising for me was, again, very simple. And then, the first fundraiser I ever did for the CRF was also something Orly mentioned. Fundraising is social. Well, my first fundraiser was a beer tasting. And we had several different types of beers that people sampled, and we had a silent auction of items that I had gotten donated. And and that was so for me, that was something I was comfortable with my first time doing a fundraiser as well. And that also factors in Brian's first fundraiser. He was doing gaming. That's something he's comfortable with.
Yep.
So something that, when you're starting out in fundraising, find something that you're comfortable with, and then think of a way you can monetize that into a fundraiser. And then, after you become a little more comfortable, well, then maybe you can, spread your wings a little bit and try something different as well. It's up to you.
I'm going to keep going. Speaking of something we all do differently, but have the same. Thank you, Orly, by the way. Thank you so much. Is Eric. Eric, why don't you share with us what you've done for a fundraiser?
Well, merci beaucoup. Yes. So if you're looking for easy, friends, I've got it for you. It comes as easy as once a year, and it's your birthday. We all have birthdays. And when you talk about looking for something easy, this is it. And you can set up a fundraiser on Facebook with the CRF as the charity of choice, or it can be set up on our website. And if you have problems with any of that, you can email or call Kathy or Corey or any of us, and we can help you set it up. I've been doing big Christmas parties because my birthday's right before Christmas, and I had huge groups of people at my house. And when we started the foundation, I said, well, I'm going to make it a fundraiser. And I put a little box by my front door, wrapped it as a present, put a slot, said, donate here. It was amazing how little I got there. I mean, almost nothing for the first 2 years. People just didn't understand. But when I started doing it on social media, it was amazing. Some years it may be a couple $100, as Corey said, but you never know where you're going to touch someone who knows you, who may have seen, who's seen what I'm able to do with low vision, or any of the other guys or gals here in the foundation. And there have been some pretty sizable checks from people across the country and, across the globe have made donations. And the great thing about a birthday appeal or any of our fundraisers that are online is you can share that and ask your friends to share it. And it just multiplies it out. And it's a great way of raising awareness of choroideremia, of keeping it at the forefront. But it's also a way of showing your friends how they can help. And there's something amazing about the human spirit. Most people want to help, and you are giving them that opportunity because they may see you struggle, or they may not really understand when you say you need an elbow to be led through a restaurant or whatever. But when you realize you can offer them a way of giving tangible help towards a cure, it's very easy, very, very easy to do a birthday appeal, because you literally set it up, you send it out on Facebook, Instagram, or WhatsApp, or whatever your social media is, or just by email. And you send them the link and say, here's the link. I have choroideremia. And it's instead of cards or presents this year, I'm just asking if you could make a donation of your choice. And it's as simple as clicking here. And I've been doing it for years, and it's a great way, I think, and probably the easiest. It just takes, maybe 5-10 minutes, or for some of us with less vision, it may be a little harder online, but you can get it done in a very short period of time, and it's done. Once it's up, you don't need to worry about it. You can repost it every once in a while to remind people. But
Eric, did you send thank you? Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Did you send thank yous afterwards, or any how did you do that after somebody made a donation?
That is so great. I'm glad you made that comment, because when you sign up both on Facebook and for our own fundraising pages, you can go and check to see who's made a donation, and you'll get notifications. And I will immediately text or make a call and say, thank you so much for making a donation.
Yeah.
And I think thanking people is a huge way of making them understand you truly appreciate what they're doing. And I think it helps them. There's a euphoria of knowing you've helped someone. And when that person shows their thanks, I think it just accents them and makes them realize that when asked again, they are more than happy to do it.
Yeah.
I think the human spirit, when it comes to giving, is way up there, and it's certainly here in the U.S. And I think it's a great avenue for people, and it, as I said, it raises awareness, and it's really, really simple to do.
Well, speaking of simple, thank you, Eric, for your time.
I was going to say, leading right into Corey, because he'll tell you how to do it.
That was really good. We didn't rehearse that either. We're going to get to Corey now, and he's going to talk a little bit, guys, about two different things about how to set up Facebook pages. And as you are watching this, hopefully we'll have many people watch this. There are screenshots that you can pause it and write this down, or hopefully we can click on it too, or go to our website. But Corey, I'll go ahead and leave us with you next, sir.
Thank you, Beth. Yeah, and the nice thing about Facebook birthday fundraisers too, for those who are on Facebook, is that I believe it's a month out from your birthday. Facebook sends you a message. Hey, would you like to raise money? And you just say yes, and you click on it and you choose your charity and you go from there. Okay. Now, if it's not your birthday and you are on Facebook and you would, let's say you're celebrating something. Your favorite baseball team won the World Series or whatever, and you want to do a general, what we call a general fundraiser on Facebook as opposed to a birthday fundraiser. If you go to our Facebook page, Cure CHM, and that's the screenshot you're looking at right here, and you click on fundraisers, and then to the right where the big blue arrow is, there's a little button there that says start fundraising. or raise money, actually, is what it says. But you click on the raise money and you set up a Facebook fundraising page, and it gives you like a range of dates that you want your page active, and whatever the theme is, you can name your page, things like that. There is also another way, besides the Cure CHM page, you can also do it from your regular home page. I don't have a screenshot of that, unfortunately, but you click on the little on the left hand side where all the icons are. You click on the little grid pattern underneath all the main icons for the view all, and you look at the bottom right of your screen, it says fundraise. And when you click on that, you search for Choroideremia Research Foundation. And again, the steps from that point are the same, and you set up your fundraising page. Now, if you're not on Facebook and you want to do a general fundraiser, and that's where we're on to this next, who is that ugly guy in the middle of that? Oh, it's me. Anyway, you can go to our website, curechm.org/get-involved. Or if you just go to curechm.org and you click on the community header, there's a fundraiser button to set up a page. And so what you're seeing here is the, a general fundraising page, or donate or fundraise. So you can set up your own page on our platform right on our website, and then you get your own unique URL, which you can then share out to all your friends and family. And the nice thing about this page here, when you set up your own page on our website, is that the receipt letters that go to your donors for their taxes are automated. They're emailed, their receipt letters, and also a thank you. And as Eric mentioned, you get a notification saying that, John Doe donated $50 to your fundraiser. And that allows you to immediately reach out and thank them. So that's a couple of different ways you can do general fundraisers. They can be for any topic that you would like. Matter of fact, who was the Borans, Danny and Cheryl, their first fundraiser for the CRF was simply to, they were getting married, and they did it as a fundraiser. So, and then another very easy way to fundraise, and you're really not doing fundraising. You're doing what many of us do all the time anyways, shop on Amazon.
Especially for those of us that don't drive.
Yeah. Shop on Amazon. Smile.amazon.com is the website. You go to that website and you search for Choroideremia Research Foundation. It then comes up. You click on the banner that pops up as you're seeing in the screenshot, the CRF banner there. And then that links to your Amazon account. And what's really great is that it's actually idiot proof. If you go to regular Amazon.com and you start shopping, a little pop-up appears saying, hey, do you want to do this on Amazon.smile and support the Choroideremia Research Foundation? Why, yes, I do, as a matter of fact. And you click and you go. Amazon donates, and this sounds like a very tiny amount, 0.5% of your purchase. Okay. Again, sounds very tiny. However, when we first started this program 5-6 years ago, when we linked up to Amazon Smile, we didn't promote it a lot. It was there. We let people know about it. And we were getting, they disperse to us quarterly. And when we first started doing it, we were getting $200 to $225 every quarter. This last quarterly payment we received was over $700. And we're averaging between $650, and actually in the last year, we've averaged between $650 and $700 per quarter. So that little 0.5% adds up. I would encourage everyone to go to Amazon Smile or smile.amazon.com, sign up for the CRF, and ask every one of your friends, family, coworkers to do the same. It costs you nothing. And it's a great way to generate funds for the CRF. And
That's
that's about
great.
it. Pretty simple.
Very good.
And Corey, you're online when you're setting up Facebook or on our website. People should also know that they can, as you saw, upload their own photos to personalize the page.
You actually can upload video as well.
Yep.
You can do video appeal on our website as well.
That's great.
Well, the hour is up, gang. So
Hey,
we
it was
want to
pretty
just
exciting.
say
We got it in. That was
we
nice.
got it in. We'll have to edit it a little bit, but that's on me. Hey, I want to just thank everybody. Thank every one of you that joined me, took an hour out of your day to come. Thank you so much. You all mean so much to this organization as fundraisers and being a panelist, and your time today to help others in our organization. Just be creative. And if you're watching this video and you can't think of anything, guaranteed we can help you find something. You just give us a call. The 800 number is up there. Between the staff and some others, we'll get you hooked up one way or another. So we just again wanted to say thank you. Thanks for coming. We're going to do one more video. It will be with larger events. We're going to have a series of people that are going to join us to do group fundraisers. What does that look like? So you can look for us again soon.
And Beth, if I can interrupt real
Yeah.
quick, another quick, easy, and talk about just out of the box, easy stuff. The oldest fundraiser in the history of the CRF, and it's still ongoing. When we formed in 2000, there was a gentleman named Bob Hain that lived in Las Vegas, who was a sports nut. He started a football pool, CHM or blind football pool. And it's been running continuously every year since then. So we're into our 22nd season. And again, it doesn't raise a ton of money, but yet it raises awareness and it raises some money. And it's very little work to do.
Mhm.
So, literally anything like that can be a fundraiser.
It can be anything that we're into individually or as a group. You can do it with some creativity. So I think that's it, gang. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look
Thank
forward to
you.
seeing you again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you again. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Holbrook has left the meeting.